going to be reading to you from Reddit, which I haven't done in a really long time. And so I pulled up a thread, and I'll tell you the exact name of it. I think this is the Let's Not Meet. Yeah, Let's Not Meet, and it's a place to read spine-tingling, unusual, terrifyingly true stories about people you never want to meet again. Now, I haven't been on Reddit in a while. I am not a regular Reddit user, so it took me a second to figure out how to work it and find the stories and stuff. But I think we're good now. This group has 1.1 million members, so that's kind of cool. There are a couple of Reddit videos that people have been making, like Reddit reading videos that I've been liking. I've never heard stories from this one, but it looks good. I have watched a couple of ASMR creators do the Am I the Asshole Reddit reading thread. That one is cool. So maybe if you guys like this, maybe I can find some stories from that thread as well to read. But let's just get into it. I'm going to be reading from my phone. Also, I kind of like this filming setup, like where I'm sitting. Jury is still out though, but let me know what you think. I'm using 100% pure natural lighting, no ring light, nothing. And I think it's kind of nice, so let me know. But alright, enough speaking. I'm going to move my mic a little bit closer to me, and then we will get started. Okay, the very first one is called I Was Stalked for a Month and Had No Clue. Starting off strong. Okay. I walk to most places because being severely visually impaired, obviously I can't drive. I walk at night during the summer, which lasts anywhere from April to October if you're lucky. This is probably not the safest idea, but I'm from Texas, so temperatures of 100 degrees aren't unusual. One of my usual destinations was a convenience store a few blocks from my previous house. I set out one night, as I normally would, to get myself some Pepsi and a candy stash. Our town isn't very big, and most people drive everywhere. It's very unusual to come across anyone else on my route to the store, but that night a man appeared out of nowhere and started talking like he knew me. He asked me where I was going, and I told him. It wasn't unusual for people to keep watch on me because I was a hard of hearing blind girl with forearm crutches. This guy had no reason to be there and was walking way too close beside me. He asked me where I was going, and I told him, just in case I was overreacting. I sped up as much as I could since this part of the route is very dark, with only a subway that had closed for the night. He definitely wasn't there for a $5 footlong. I tried to appear calm, though the alarm bells were ringing and I was shaking to the point I was afraid I'd drop a crutch, which was probably the worst thing that could right then happen, especially after he started asking what I liked in the bedroom, and he could easily have his way with me in the ditch and no one would know. You felt sick but continued. I'm sorry, there are a lot of typos in this story, so bear with me. I felt sick but continued my walk. The store was only about 20 yards away. I knew the guy that was on the graveyard shift. I got safely inside, and my friend handed me a bag to carry my stuff in until I was ready to check out. And when I got to the register, he began speaking loudly enough that my ears hurt, and I had to turn my hearing sweets, did you ever find my 3DS? I played along and he opened the half door thing and I sat on the stool like it was normal. Creepy dude came over and slammed his Bud Light and a 10 on the counter. After being handed his change, he went outside. He's still out there by the ice machine. After about 20 minutes, he still hadn't left. My friend called his manager, and after explaining the situation, she told him to lock up and run me home. He did, and even walked me to my door. I got out the key, put it in the door, and we stepped inside. Catherine said to give you this. He handed a keychain and showed me how to unlock the pepper spray. Call us before you come from now on. He's come in after you for the last 4 weeks. He left and I made sure every door and window was locked. So, creepy dude, let's never meet again. Not for nothing, I hate to be this person, but you noticed it for 4 weeks and you didn't tell her or authorities. You know, I feel like that's something that should, if you see somebody being a target like that for 4 weeks, anyway. Let's see, this one is titled The Stranger and the Cadaver Dog. I told this story once a long time ago in a smaller sub, but I thought you guys here would appreciate it. An old friend of mine had a canine search and rescue operation and had several dogs that had different skills. He had dogs that were trained for different things. One to search for human remains, one that was trained to search for live survivors, including through the rubble of accident or disaster sites, and even a little dog that could detect bedbugs. I would sometimes help in the training of the dogs by hiding in the woods or in hard-to-search areas, and I loved doing it. It's amazing to see these incredible animals working. Plus, I loved them. I sat with them a lot when he was out, searching in different parts of the country for actual victims. One afternoon, we were walking through the park with the cadaver dog, a beautiful German shepherd who was the face of the company. Not working, but we did have our canine search and rescue attire on when a man approached. He stopped us to ask if he could pet her, which is not uncommon, and she was super friendly and sweet, so we said, of course. The weird thing is, the moment he stopped, the dog immediately gave her signal and laid down right by his feet. My friend and I looked at each other, almost in horror, because the dog was signaling that she detected human remains. She was the most experienced of all the dogs and would not have made a mistake. It was clearly her signal. It spooked us both so much that we cut the conversation short and left quickly. To this day, we have no idea what that was about. I should also add that she was trained to detect human remains. She was taught not to alert on animal remains. I still think about that day a lot. That's a little disturbing. This one sounds creepy just from the title, and it's kind of a long one, but I think we can do it. It's called To the Man by the Shed. My boyfriend, 23 male, and I, 23 female, recently decided that we wanted to take the new tent we bought on its first trip. The tent was one that hooks up to your car to provide more storage space, and we were excited to try it out. We had planned a kayaking trip the next day at a kayak rental shop. It was supposed to be a nice, inexpensive, outdoorsy weekend getaway. We tend to book things last minute, so all the state parks and professional campgrounds were full. This led us to a website that is essentially an Airbnb for campsites. The working bathrooms, showers. It allowed for campfires, and all the sites were car accessible. The site was also the most reviewed in the area with 3 5 out of 5 star reviews. The area was very rural, so we did not think much about the low number of reviews for any of the campsites. The renter was Mary, who only ever texted us updates but seemed sweet. We start out on a 2-hour drive, a bit later than anticipated, which put us behind the 11 a.m. time we had originally informed the host, but we tried to keep her updated with the new schedule. She told us to let her know when we arrive at the address she sent us. We arrived to the address and are greeted with the barn from the pictures. It had string lights all over it, seemed fairly new, and just gave a nice feel to it. We sat in the car for a minute and struggled with cell service to text the host to let her know we had arrived. 10 minutes after our text sends, a sweaty man who appears to be in his 60s pulls up in an ATV. He lets us know he is the father-in-law to Mary, and she is busy taking care of the seasonal harvest, and sent him instead. He let us know we can take the car anywhere on the property and offers to show us around in the ATV. My boyfriend, visibly uncomfortable, declines the offer and asks a few more questions about the woods and how far into them are we allowed to take the car. Anywhere. There are no designated campsites. We can go anywhere, and the ATV man even offers to help pull my car out if it gets stuck. We ask one final question about cell service, and he jokes that if we are from around here, we will understand that reception works better on one side of the barn than the other. I am from around here and thought it was funny, but once he said that, I realized he didn't have any ounce of an accent for here like he should. Eventually, he leaves, and we begin exploring the property on foot. The barn is nice and maintained. It was fully lit in the middle of the day, with the string lights decorating the interior too. It is insulated and has a working kitchen. The only warning we got was to not drink the water. It seemed like a place that would host small 50-guest weddings. We walk past a shed out behind the barn to get to the trails that ran through the woods. After going through a hike that my car would have never survived, we decide it might be best just to camp by a small creek, and we choose a spot on the side opposite the barn. We were still within walking distance, but we used my car as a buffer to feel a bit more isolated. We choose our spot, then go into the main town to eat and walk around. We message Mary about the fire policy, and she tells us that they will deliver a fire ring to the barn for us to take to camp. We arrive back at the barn about an hour and a half from nighttime. We drive by the barn, and the lights had been turned off. We assumed it was on a timer, as to not waste energy or money. We also notice the fire ring has not yet been delivered. We start the grueling 30-minute setup in the sticky heat and reward ourselves with a sit in the air-conditioned car. We notice it looks like it is about to rain, so my boyfriend and I pull out a card game and wait for it to pass in the car. It only lasted about 10 minutes, but it is starting to be sunset. The tent held up nicely, so we felt okay leaving it for a second. Needing to use the bathroom, we start walking to the barn. As we cross the creek, we hear what sounds to be like someone in the shed moving things around. A bit unsettling, but I tell my boyfriend that maybe they used equipment today and it's just sitting in there making the cracking, cool-off noise that it sometimes does. We get to the barn and the lights are still off, but the fire ring is there. We go light switches will work, so we assume the power is cut. Again, maybe it's just on a timer. No worries. We step out of the barn and get 10 feet away, and we hear a hum in the distance. To the opposite side of the shed, the power to the barn is restored. We change direction to use the bathroom. As soon as we step inside, the power cuts. I start to get a weird feeling, and I can tell he has too. I look to my boyfriend and say maybe they're just watching us. I immediately follow up with, no, that's a lot worse. We walk back outside, and the lights turn on. My boyfriend says that we need to leave, and I have the same gut-wrenching primal fear. We put the ring back by the barn since we had moved it 10 feet, and the barn lights start flickering. We briskly walk back to the car. Being from Appalachia, I know better than to run. The 30-minute setup was torn down and packed up in 5 minutes, and we jump in the car and lock it. I managed to get my car going, thanking God that the rain did not get my car stuck. We start toward the driveway, and just as we made it to the road, my boyfriend looks back and sees a man standing by the shed, watching us. As soon as my car pulls off onto the road, we get a text from Mary letting us know that the fire ring is out by the barn. She also informs us that we are welcome to stay in the barn if the rain had messed up our camping experience. We arrive at a nice hotel willing to splurge for safety. At this point, it's 10 p.m. at the earliest. A sweet older lady checks us in. Desperate for validation and just comfort from anyone, we tell her what had just happened to us at the campsite. She looks shocked. She asks if we had seen the news lately, which we both respond that we had not. The lady tells us that couples in the state have been going missing. All of them had gone camping. 3 couples were truly missing, and one was recently found on the side of the freeway, slashed to near death. They are, to the time of posting, still recovering in the hospital. We couldn't find many articles about where in the state, but the look on the lady's face suggested it was near us. We get to our room and text Mary back to let her know we are not staying. She responds with, "Thank you for staying with us." We lock the door and I break down into tears. I will not forget that feeling I got in the barn. The primal fight or flight feeling, and the feeling of being watched. I feel it in my throat just writing this. I never want to experience that again. So, to the man by the shed who watched us drive away, let's never meet again. Okay, let's do one more. This one is called To Whoever Was in My Car With Me Last Night. I'm currently living in my SUV right now, and last night around 12 a.m. I parked in a Walmart parking lot to sleep. It was one of the worst days I've had in a long time, and I was absolutely exhausted. So when I got into the back of my SUV, I fell asleep right away, unfortunately forgetting to lock my doors. I've always been a very light sleeper, and I'm thankful I am, because somehow I woke up, turned around in my makeshift bed to face whoever was now sitting in the driver's seat of my car looking directly at me. This is where the story somehow gets kind of funny, because I was so tired and in such a daze, all I did was continue to shake my head back and forth and say no, while reaching across this person's lap and opening the door for them and gesturing for them to leave. And that is why the title of this story is To Whoever Was in My Car With Me Last Night. Thank you for getting out and leaving without saying we're doing anything else but walking away. But I do hope we never meet again. So that was a short one. probably just as equally confused. Even if I was so tired and was sleeping, would not have been that calm. Let's just say that, but the fact that they were calm probably made the stranger also calm, so I guess it worked out. But that is going to be it for today's video. This is really fun. I think I'm going to make another Reddit video soon. I really enjoy these videos and I enjoy listening to them from other ASMR artists as well. So if you have any favorite threads or any threads that you recommend, leave them down below, and I'll also see what I can find. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in